Hi crafty friends, it's Tanya here from Ink Responsibly in Australia, and today I'm going to share with you how I made my little wiper card using the brand new Animal Outing stamp set. So that's this one here, and when you push the sides together, up pops a secret element, and you pull it out and it goes down, and then up he comes again, and that's just tucked inside there. So to create our wiper card, we're going to need 2 pieces of vanilla cardstock. Now mine measure 8.5 inches long by 4 1/8 of an inch high. You can adjust the height of it to suit you. So for our American card makers, you could make that 4.5 inches, and then you're going to get the 2 on the one sheet. And then you're going to score both pieces at 1.5 inches and at 3 inches. So I'm going to fold and burnish my lines. So as you're going to fold that in a Z fold manner, exactly the same with the other piece. So now we have 2 pieces that look like this. Now on one of our pieces, we're going to create an oval aperture. So that just means to cut out an oval shape. Now I'm using the layering ovals from Stampin' Up. And we're going to cut a hole centered between your 3-inch score line and the edge. And this is what you will have. So now using that same oval die that we used to cut that hole, and the next largest in size, I'm going to take a piece of Tranquil Tide cardstock and I'm going to cut out a frame like so. And that is going to go on there. But before we do that, we're going to do a quick bit of stamping. So I'm going to stamp some grass around the base of my cardstock, and I've actually continued it all the way across. So that means I'm going to do it to both pieces of cardstock. And for that, I'm going to use this grass from the Fabulous Flamingo, and I'm going to stamp that in Old Olive and one of our returning colours, Mossy Meadow. Okay, so now that that's done, we can go ahead and glue our little frame in place. Right, so now we've got our frame in place. So we're going to create a backdrop for our frame. With my original card, I placed a piece of the Naturally Eclectic cardstock and I stamped onto that. But seeing as that's going to be retiring, I decided to create my own backdrop. I took a sheet of watercolor cardstock and I gave my ink pad a squish. I'm using Tranquil Tide. So once you've squished some ink into the lid, I'm going to, first of all, just wet my cardstock, my watercolor paper. Now, that needs to be really, really wet. Then you're just going to pick up some of the color and wash it down. And using a heat tool, we can dry that. So once you have that dry, we're going to do a little bit of stamping. Now we're going to keep it the same tone. So I will keep with my Tranquil Tide. So I'll keep with my Tranquil Tide ink pad. And I'm going to take these trees here. Now they're from a brand new set called Rooted in Nature. And it is a double set. And there are some beautiful natural images. So just around the base of our watercolored piece, we're going to pop some trees. There you are. Now we're going to cut this down so that it fits behind here. And you're going to cut that at 4 inches high by about 3 inches wide. And here is our finished watercolored panel. Now to pop that onto here, we're going to use some of the dimensional strip. And we're just going to place one strip on that side of the oval and one on this side. Press that down. Now this is the underside of our front panel. So just pull that back and sit that in place and push it down. So that gives us a extra element of dimension rather than just having an image placed flat, which you certainly can do. You could put an image straight on there and put the frame over the top without doing a cutaway piece. Now we're going to get on to our colouring of our leaves and our roses. This is very sad for me, but the paisley dies, the paisley bundle is actually retiring. And this die here is my all-time favourite die for creating roses. And I'll show you how I make mine. So I've die cut a few of this shape here. And just popping put a silicone mat down and place some of your dies down there. Now for this you're going to need between 4 and 5 roses. Now making sure your good card is out of the way. You could also spray inside a box, but I'm just going to wet my die cuts so that they're really, really wet. Now I forgot to add that I cut these out of watercolor cardstock. And using my brusho, I just do a tap, and then with the orange or gamboge, And then a tiny bit of the red. Now, the amount of Brusho that you actually use is so small. I use my Brusho all the time and I don't think I'm ever going to run out. So don't worry at all about how much you're using. So with it like that, I'm going to just grab some tweezers and give it a swirl. So tweezers and a swirl. Like so. There you go. Now you can pop that over to the side if you like, or you can use your heat tool to speed it up. Now, just a word of advice, if you're going to use your heat tool, as your shapes start to dry, they're going to want to blow away. So just hold them down with a piercing tool or some tweezers. So I'm just going to show you how I create my rolled roses. So when your piece is dry, just take some tweezers and you're actually going to start from the outermost part and just roll it up nice and tightly. And the funny looking end is actually going to be the base of our rose. So when you've got it to this point, I'll just bring this up for you to see. I'm going to turn my tweezers back the other way and then release it. So this is our rose. Now you can use a glue dot, but I do prefer to use just a dot of hot glue. And just push that bit there. And it doesn't matter if you squish your rose, because we're going to be doing a little bit of tweaking. Okay, now we're going to just roll back our petals. You can do that with tweezers or you can use your thumb and fingers. Okay, like so. When you start to use more than just the one Brusho, when you combine it with other colours, the possibilities are endless. So with my Brushoed green panel, I'm going to take my leaf punch and I'm going to punch out a whole pile of leaves. So that was roughly an A5 sheet of watercolour cardstock that I've coloured and punched out. So this gives us all our leaves. Now another little trick that I do to give our leaves some texture, place your tweezers in the middle of your leaf, like that. And then with a finger on either side, just twist your tweezers. So you put the tweezer there and twist. Tweezer, twist. Now you can do this with regular tweezers. I've got the reverse ones, and it doesn't matter which way you twist your leaf. You can twist it to the left or to the right. It doesn't make any difference. And just go along and give some texture to your leaves. So once you've got all those done, just pop them over to the side. Now, colouring your watercolour cardstock, that's something that you can do ahead of time. You might want to have a page or two done of the green, or a page or two done of the oranges and yellows. And if you have that done ahead of time, that's going to save you a heap of time in the future. Now, the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to colour these guys. Now, I'm using each of the animals here, as well as a little hidden animal. So I've already stamped these critters, and I'm going to show you how I colour my animals with my Stampin' Blends. So we've got all our elements now. So to put our card together, one final piece is we need a piece of cardstock that measures 3 inches long by 1.5 inches, and I have just scored that on the diagonal. So that's 1.5 and 1.5, and score that along that line. And then fold that in well. Now on the back of our front piece, I'll just do this slowly so you can see. On the first score line that you've made, so here's the front, flip it straight over. This first score line, this piece is going to stick on here, just on this triangular piece, because as we open, that's going to pop up. So put some adhesive only in this triangle part here, and it's going to go down so that the diagonal is going like so. And put that in place. So we have our first score line on the back of our front. The diagonal is going that way, and our wiper is touching the back of our panel here, our raised panel. So now we can put our card together. So using tear tape on the very edge of the scored side, we're going to put a piece there, and on our second piece we're just going to, on the scored side underneath, so our non-stamped side, we put our tape along there. So remove the tape on one side. So we've got our grass along the bottom there. Just line up this end and push that down well. And then for your other side, remove the tape and push that down. So when we squeeze, up pops our wiper. So squeeze. All right, now the fun part. Now we're going to put all our pieces together, put them all on. So you can just put them on straight like so, but what I've done is I've gone along and coloured a few extra, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to layer up my pieces using dimensionals. So let's put these guys in place. Now to put my rhino in, I have actually cut up between his leg so that I could put him in place. Now for our leaves and our vine, I'm going to start by gluing one down and then just randomly snip and layer. So we'll just lift up a leaf and layer the next one in place. And I'm just going to continue. Okay, so that is that part. We just need to cut a couple more for our giraffe head, which we'll put in place in just a moment. Now with our roses, we're going to have them trailing up the vine. It's best to use a hot glue gun for this. Now we're going to put a greeting down the side here, and for that I'm using vertical greetings and happy birthday. So just use, now this is Tranquil Tide cardstock to tie in with the Tranquil Tide border. Not happy with that. I want a little bit more room. There. And I'm going to heat emboss that in gold. And once that is done, you're going to trim that down. Now I've just laid my greeting onto some gold foil cardstock, and I am putting that greeting on there like so. Now to finish our little pop-up area, all I'm doing is I'm just going to glue down. Now if you have watercolored your background, you can use some excess of that, or you can use a little bit of Designer Series paper. Now I'm putting the green on here so that it blends in like the grass. Next, my little giraffe is going to be sitting on here. I want him to pop up quite a bit. And I'll put a few leaves at the base. Now I'm going to glue these ones down fairly well, because this is going to be a mechanical part of our card. Whereas normally I just glue along the stem. So there you are. There's a wiper card. Lots of fun, and you could personalize this to a baby's birthday welcome to the world. a bon voyage, somebody traveling to Australia, for example, or going on African safari. I hope you like it and you try it yourself at home. A little hint for getting it to stand up with the wiper upright. Give it a squeeze and bend it backwards, and that will help the wiper to stand upright like that. Until next time, everybody, I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. I know it's a bit of a long one. I've included quite a lot, but I hope you try it. Thanks for watching. Until next time, stay crafty. Bye.